Greetings. I hope everyone is having a wonderful week. Welcome to my art studio here in Leitrim's Iron Mountains. The days are getting shorter as the darkness is coming sooner. It's 5 p.m. here in Ireland and it's already dark, which is great for those little trick-or-treaters heading out this Halloween. This year, my husband has taken our youngest Gwydion over to New York to visit his grandma and to experience an American Halloween in the suburbs. Here in Ireland, we live so remotely that we usually would have to drive to the nearest town for trick-or-treating, and we get very few trick-or-treaters finding their way up the mountain for candy. We are a day away from Halloween now. Here in Ireland, Halloween is the Celtic New Year, Samhain, and for me, I always like to set goals and any major resolutions or changes I want to keep. I think that setting these things at Christmas, it can be such a whirlwind. It makes more sense to use these dark evenings to go inwards and reflect on the year and plan going forward. We have a Samhain celebration parade here in Leitrim, where I live, a parade of light in Manhamilton, which is about 45 minutes drive from me, where the local art centre and schools come together to participate. I'm looking forward to watching the parade, as I am always impressed by the sculptures and artwork they make, especially the willow and paper light sculptures. There were some big animal ones last year, so I'm looking forward to that. Today I am sharing another time-lapse from one of my Drawlloween illustrations in my sketchbook. I am working from Pop Surrealist's Mab Graves prompt list for Mab's Drawlloween Club, and this prompt, Day 7, is Yokai. This is my second year doing Mab's Drawlloween Club, and Yokai was on last year's prompt list, and I wanted to revisit my Yokai from last year. I like the notion of creating a series of illustrations when the same or similar prompts appear, so this drawing is inspired from my piece from last year. Yokai are a class of supernatural entities, ghosts, phantoms, strange apparitions, monsters, spirits, demons, that appear in Japanese folklore. Japanese folklore is dense with yokai. These supernatural beings come in many forms. The word yokai is a combination of yo, meaning attractive, bewitching, calamity, and kai, meaning mystery, wonder, demon, or monster. It is a rough translation for a word like that. In many Japanese words, they do not have any direct English equivalent. Yokai are much more diverse than any single word for such creatures. Rocks, rivers, animals, and inanimate objects can be inhabited by energies or spirits, which gives yokai with unlimited storytelling potential. Yokai range diversely from the malevolent to the mischievous, and then the downright seriously scary, as well as occasionally bringing good fortune to those who encounter them. This relating to the Japanese idea of animism. Spirit-like entities, among other things, mononoke, were believed to reside in all things. Such spirits possessed emotions and personalities, also known as ayakashi, monoko, or mamono. Yokai arose from many sources. Some are product of ancient folklore and others from the imagination of artists and writers of the Edo period around 1603 to 1868. Japanese folklore is an amalgamation of different traditions with a foundation in the folk region of isolated tribes living on the Japanese Isles. These traditions were modified by Shinto and later Buddhism, incorporating elements from Chinese and Indian folklore as well. The oldest recording histories of Japan go back to the 8th century and contain the creation myths and legendary prehistory of Japan. Various documents catalogue these legends and folklore from different perspectives and contain the earliest record of gods, demons, and other supernatural creatures of Japanese folklore. During the Edo period, there was an unprecedented flourishing of culture and art in Japan. Ghost stories and stories about monsters and strange phenomena from all over Japan experienced a huge surge in popularity. The very first mystical bestiaries were put together by folklorists and artists like Toriyama Seiken who collected the oral traditions of rural Japan for the consumption of the growing urban population and added a few original monsters into the mix. These began as collections of painted scrolls and later expanded into multi-volume illustrated encyclopedias of strange tales and supernatural stories. Toriyama Selkin wrote the illustrated night parade of 100 demons, and this set the stage for other artists, and the yokai tradition was born. It quickly expanded into every aspect of Japanese culture, from fine art to high theatre, from aristocratic ghost storytelling parties to low-class manga. Yokai fell out of popularity during the Meiji Restoration, when Japan rapidly modernized its society and culture. They were all but abandoned as a relic of superstition and an embarrassing past. After the World War II, manga artist Shigeru Mizuki, I know I didn't pronounce that right, he rediscovered their charm and reintroduced them into modern Japan with his comic series GegeGe no Kitaro. It caused an explosion of interest in the supernatural. Today, the influence of yokai can be seen in all aspects of Japanese culture, from manga to anime to video games, brand labeling, and even on the Japanese currency. My yokai is drawing inspiration from the mythical Kitsune yokai. In the literal sense, Kitsune is the Japanese word for fox. Foxes are a common subject of Japanese folklore. Stories depict legendary foxes as intelligent beings and possess paranormal abilities that increase with their age and wisdom. In these stories, foxes have the ability to shapeshift into human form, while some folk tales speak of Kitsune employing the ability to trick others, as foxes in folklore often do. Other stories portray them as faithful guardians, friends, lovers, and wives. Foxes and humans lived together in ancient Japan. This companionship gave rise to legends about the creatures. Kitsune have become associated with Shinto spirits and serve as messengers. This role has reinforced the fox's supernatural significance. The more tails they have, the older, wiser, and more powerful they are. Foxes are also known as the protectors or guardians of the rice fields, and this is most likely because they eat mice and mice eat rice. Conversely, foxes were also seen as witch animals, especially during the superstitious Edo period, thought of as goblins who could not be trusted. Japanese fox legends have their origins in fox spirits of Japanese mythology. Also found in stories throughout East Asia, folklores of China tell of fox spirits called 𝐿ū-jing that may have up to 9 tails, and these were adopted into Japanese culture as kitsune. Many of the earliest surviving stories are recorded in an 11th century Japanese collection of Japanese, Chinese, and Indian literary narratives. I'm going to try and pronounce the name of this book. It's Konjaku Monogatari. Not sure if I said that correctly. The idea of fox as seductress connects fox myths to Buddhism and were introduced into Japanese folklore through similar Chinese stories. Many Japanese folk stories contain elements unique to Japan. My yokai fox has 3 tails. I read one folklore story featuring a 3-tailed fox. Each tail represented a magnificent talent, singing, acting, and dancing. Jealous villagers cornered the yokai fox on 3 separate occasions to cut off the tails one by one, so they could be made into magic scarves and gloves. When worn, the wearer could possess these talents. And then the scorned fox, with his tails cut off, burnt the entire village to the ground. My yokai is a shape-shifting silver fox that can also fly. I pulled some inspiration from the yokai Itaimomen, which is a flying cloth. It is said that the wrapped cloth would spin around and around quickly, wrapping around people's bodies and taking them off into the sky. Itaimomen also, in contrast, are said to wrap around people's necks and cover people's faces to suffocate them to death. My yokai also has a central horn on her forehead, and I did her hair in a kind of geisha style with flowers and little pins. I like the expansive potential for creating your own unique yokai, which to me is why this prompt is so much fun. I'm using predominantly Faber-Castell colouring pencils and my mid-tone sketchbook, and a white gel pen for sharp highlights. I'll link my tools and materials down below. We're coming to the end of my time-lapse now, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye!